Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, the Evil Dungeon Master channel here on YouTube and podcast, AD&D Universe. Today I'm going to be reviewing something a little bit different, but first, theevildm.com is my website where you can sign up for my newsletter, and Ask the DM at theevildm.com is my email address. Patreon.com/theevildm is where you can support me. Now, I got some emails from some people asking me to do other reviews of things that we normally, or I've not normally done here on the channel. So today I wanted to look at a module that a lot of people might enjoy. I want to talk about D1, Descent into the Depths of the Earth. It's not just as a module, not just as a classic, but as kind of a statement of modules. Because when you open the cover and see the worlds of Descent into the Depths of the Earth, you're not being invited into the dungeon, you're being warned. This is not a 5-layer room dungeon whatsoever. It is not a ruined keep with like a little tidy map or anything like that. It is a wilderness, an underground, and that changes everything when you look at it. If you look at the large-scale maps in D1, 1 hex equals 1 mile. And 1 mile, and that's it. Underground. Let that sink in. Most referees run the underworld like a series of chambers, 10 feet wide, corridors, box text, doors, trap, monster, treasure, rinse, repeat. D1 just kind of throws that out. Now, the Underdark is more of a campaign environment when it comes to the module itself. There are primary passages, secondary passages, tertiary passages. There are encounter areas that are not even fully detailed for you. And right away, that tells you that the pressure kind of shifts when it comes to these modules. And I always find that interesting because it's not about clearing rooms, it's mostly about movement, supply, and direction. And that's how these modules work. The fear of getting lost, the constant sense that you are trespassing in a place that does not belong to you. Alright, so when you run this module, I suggest you don't treat it as the extension of a dungeon above. Treat it as a hostile wilderness. Remember, things like light matters, spell slots will matter, and definitely morale matters in the situation here. The text in D1 makes something very clear. The underworld is not static. There are patrols, there are mixed groups, there are drow patrol types with different spell capacities depending on the level. This is not just flavor added to the campaign, this is a machine. A drow patrol is not a random wandering monster, it is basically part of the infrastructure of the whole campaign. There are male patrols, female patrols, mixed patrols. They come with specific spell lists: levitate, detect magic, darkness, dispel magic, silence in a 15-foot radius. So when the party thinks they can just carefully move and avoid trouble, that assumption gets tested quickly in this game. You are not in control down here as the party or the player. And this is where D1 really shines, in my opinion, for you. Most groups, when they descend, they think tactically. They think, room by room. They think encounter by encounter. But D1 demands strategic thinking. How far can you move in a day down there? Do you follow the main passage where patrols are more common? Or do you risk these tertiary tunnels where movement is a lot slower and chances of getting boxed in these areas are higher? Now, the wandering monster tables are not really decorative things there. They are scaled by passage type. Primary passages have 1 in 10 chance per turn. Secondary passages have a 1 in 12 chance. Now, the tertiary passages are 1 in 20. This is not just math, this is just kind of a choice for the module. Faster travel equals more risk in this module. Safer travel equals slower progression, and time is really not neutral. Because the longer you remain in enemy territory, the more likely word will spread around. Patrols will start to increase, organized responses happen. So those are the things that happen. Now, let's just shift a little bit of talking about the tone of the module. D1 is oppressive. It is not a horror in the jump scare sense when it comes to these modules. It is mostly a pressure horror module. There is a line in the introduction that warns you not to allow the party to use shortcuts. You must breathe into the framework after you flesh it out. The line always kind of, stuck with me, and probably will stick with you too, because it's telling the referee something important, that this module itself is not meant to be rushed. It's not meant to be pushed through. You're supposed to feel the module, feel the distance was happening in here, the vastness, the alien scale of the underworld. So when you run this, describe the echoes that take seconds to return. Caverns are like large, that the light from the torch just kind of barely touches some of the areas of the ceiling of the caves. There are fungal forests, strange growths. Water sources might not even be safe. Or they could be safe, or they could be poison. It's really up to you. And then when you do it, describe these things and shut up. Just sit there quietly and let the players absorb into the whole area and the surroundings, and let them ask questions. Let them start to kind of worry about the situation, worry about where they are, worry about their surroundings. Now, here is where a couple tables probably go wrong when they run these things. They try to make it like a heroic battle. They want players to feel powerful in the face of the Underdark. But D1 is not about power, it's about endurance. A drow patrol can include fighters of levels 4 through 7, possibly a cleric and even a magic user. This is not goblin fodder that they're fighting against now. And the drows are not idiots. They use the darkness, they use the elevation, they use crossfire. They retreat if necessary. Remember, this is their home and this is their land, so they're going to know how to use it, unlike the players who are walking through here for the first time. Maybe some of them might be somewhat experienced with the Underdark if you played other campaigns, but chances are they're not going to be familiar with this area. If the party fights every patrol they meet, they're going to wind up dying because they're just going to, die. And that's basically what this module is telling you. Because the real skill in D1 is knowing when not to fight, when to run and hide, and when to start bribing some of the people, and also when to retreat. The underworld starts to become a negotiation. Let me tell you about this one table moment that I can kind of think of when I was writing this up. The party is moving through a secondary passage. They already are low on spells at this point because they decided to take the secondary after the first, and they're moving their way down. The cleric in our group has 1 cure light wounds left. The magic user is down to a single spell, like a fireball or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And we roll for, wandering monsters, and I get a drow patrol. Now I look at what the possibility of the composition of the drow patrol could be, and 2 of them are level 5 fighters, and 1 is a 7th level leader. A female cleric will levitate and detect magic prepared. The party, who is stalking down these tunnels, hear boots, quiet conversation in Elvish, from what they can tell. So what do? Are they going to ambush? Are they going to hide? You tell me. Do they attempt to parlay? If they ambush and win, what happens next? I mean, it's really kind of easy to figure out what's going on here. Bodies will be found. Once the bodies are found, then patrols start to increase. The network in the cave starts, talking to one another, and it tightens. If they hide and succeed, the tension remains right there for them. But if they fail, they're going to fight on the drow's terms now. And if they attempt to parlay, now we are in a dangerous territory because the drow are lawful evil. Sure, lawful evil will definitely deal. They'll make deals, but they always at an advantage for them because information becomes currency. And what did the party finally do? They hid. That was the situation they did. They hid because they knew they were down and out at that point. So they were trying to survive, and that was smart of them. And in D1, information is part of the survival. What are the main routes? What are the patrol patterns? What are the safe water sources in here? Because eventually you're going to run out of, places to go and water to drink, and you're going to have to rest. Excuse me. The map on page 2 shows encounter areas that are not fully described in this module. And that is basically intentional on Gary's part and TSR's part. It suggests that this is a living environment beyond what is printed. You can expand upon it. You can definitely do whatever you want, and you really should as a dungeon master. You can add different factions. You can add different drow rival houses. You can add scouts watching from the flooded side caverns. Add different type of traders down there. Who knows what might happen in your mind and what you're thinking. The playground is yours, and you're able to, set it. And that's why they do this. Because the deeper the party goes, the less they understand of these the Underdark. And that is the whole point of D1. D1 is descent, yes, but is also stripping away everything they know about the area. Surface assumptions don't apply anymore. The underworld has its own rules, and light draws attention. Noise travels because of echoes and how the space is made. Magic is definitely noticed. You are an infection moving through the body at this point when you think about it. The Underdark is the body, you are the invaders, and you are the infection going through the body. And the drow are basically the white blood cells that are protecting the body. And when you do this, the body reacts, and this is how you run this. Pretty simple, right? You do not present it as a dungeon crawl, because this is not a dungeon crawl. You present it as enemy territory. You keep track of days, you keep track of rations, you keep track of light sources and where they're coming from. And when the party finally reaches a haven, a hidden cavern with a neutral faction or defensive position, it feels earned. It feels like they found something and they feel accomplished. And that's why I really enjoy these things, because it doesn't feel like they cleared rooms, because now they survived a certain distance. And that is the genius part of D1 itself, is if it expands the scope of the game. It said the dungeon can be a continent, right? And once you realize that, your campaign can absolutely change when it comes to playing at the table. The evil angle in D1 is not hidden, it's basically structural. The Underdark works because someone benefits from being dangerous. And I've probably run this once or twice, and reading it through, and I'm not really much of a module person, but this is a module that I really enjoyed reading it through, so I wanted to try running it. And I had a lot of fun running this module. So the advice I'm giving here can be taken and left at the table. It's up to you how you want to handle it. Now, like I said earlier, the primary passages have a 1 in 10 chance of encounter per turn. This is basically enforcement. That is the control of the territory. If you think about it in a way, the players are not explorers, they're smugglers. They're crossing the border without papers. And so if the party is loud and flashy and proud of their fireballs, that becomes a signal flare for everything in the area. The cruel incentive is this, pretty much, that if the party wants to move quickly, they have to use magic. They must use magic to move quickly throughout these areas, but unfortunately, if they use magic, they become more visible than they want to be. And that's not really what you want when it comes to this area. If they become visible, patrols increase. Now, layer something darker on top. The Drow do not just kill the intruders right out. They want to capture and enslave the intruders for their purpose. The underworld is full of slave races. All these races captured from the surface, and they use them for whatever they want. So when the party sees a patrol with chained prisoners, they have a choice to make here as well. Do they rescue them and expose their position, or stay hidden and let them be dragged away? Something a lawful good paladin would probably not just stand there and let them, just be dragged away. If they rescue, they also gain allies, but they create a lot of noise. And injured prisoners also slow movement. And now the light source is bigger and multiply. Rations are going to start becoming consumed a lot faster because now you have more mouths to feed. If they ignore it, they do survive longer, cleaner, and probably safer. But now something changes kind of at the table, because the players know what they allow. And what they do not need to preach it. You just let it sit there with them, the decisions that they make. And sometimes that'll just do it. And that usually does work. So what is the true efficiency of the D1 module? Is basically the evil choices in the module that you have to, or I should say the evil in the module, the choices that you have to make. It tempts you with survival at a cost of someone else's survival. And the underworld does not punish you immediately for that choice. So when you're sitting there making a decision, it may reward you at first when you think about it. And you travel faster, you conserve spells, you reach your destination with more strength. Yeah, but, but now you have become more practical, I guess? No, I don't know. And practical is not the same as good, in my opinion. So when you're running this module, you definitely have to consider these things. So to wrap this up, because we're getting a little bit long here about this, the Underdark really does not care about heroics. It cares about control. It cares about support. It cares about supply lines. It cares about who benefits. And if your players start making hard practical decisions just to get home alive, then you know you're running it right. Because the real descent in D1 is not only physical, it's moral. And when they finally see daylight again, if they do, they should feel like they escaped something vast and evil and oppressive. Not just a dungeon, but a system that was never built for them to survive. And that's D1 in a nutshell. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to hit like and comment below, and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. More videos will be coming out in the future as I release them once a week, usually on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time. If you want to support me, click that join channel. You get videos ahead of time, sometimes days ahead of time, maybe even a week. And my patreon.com/evilDM is where you can support me if you wanted to leave a little bit more. That's really up to you. And with that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everybody.